So you're thinking of making a move to the New Jersey suburbs and you keep coming across two towns that keep popping up on your list, Parsippany and Morristown. Well, this is the perfect video for you. I'm gonna be comparing and contrasting both towns so you know exactly what to expect, doing some pros and cons of both so you can make a decision that works best for your needs, making a smooth move. There's gonna be a lot of things we're gonna be talking about in this video, so there's gonna be no surprises. You're gonna know a little bit of everything in both towns, and I'm gonna be going over something, a little secret at the end of something that is really awesome that one of these towns does every single year, a massive event that they hold that attracts thousands upon thousands of people. You're gonna wanna know about it, especially if you wanna attend it, or maybe if you don't wanna be around a large crowd. So stick around to see what that one is. But we're gonna dive into it right now. I'm gonna be starting off with first, my name, Sean McIntyre. I am the team leader of the Living in North Jersey real estate team, and let's have at it. Okay, affordability. I'm gonna say for both of these, if I had to go Parsippany and Morristown, which one are you gonna get? Maybe a little lower price home, different style home. I'm gonna have to go with Parsippany for affordability. It's gonna be a little bit more on the Parsippany side, and the reason for that is because it's a much larger town, a lot more spread out, a lot more happening there in that capacity because of geographically being so large. You're gonna have a little lake communities, you do have the mansions, you have everything in between. So I think affordability wise, I'm gonna have to go with the Parsippany. Morristown, a little more compact. So, you know, when things are less of something, a little more scarce, it tends to make prices go up a little bit more. So affordability goes to Parsippany. But on the other hand, I'm gonna go walkability. We're gonna have to say walkable is Morristown. Look, it's a little city. It really is. It's its own little hub, so getting around is very easy. The main focal point in Morristown is the area called the Green, and then all the homes are right off of that. So it's very easy to get around, to go to the restaurants, go to the bars. I mean, I've done that many, many times, especially if, you know, when I was in the college days, you'd come back from school, or, you know, friends in the community, regardless of what town you're in, if you're in Morristown or a neighboring town, different counties, people will go to Morristown for the nightlife because it stays open late, all that kind of stuff. So we'd go to Morristown and do some bar hopping because it's very, very walkable, and we still do that today in our 30s and so on. So it's a great town for walking around, having a good time. With all that being said, I'm gonna say we're very large in Parsippany, so not walkable. You know, it is going from one side of Parsippany to the other is not easy. It's a huge town. I mean, so big that there's 2 high schools. So, you know, having a town with 2 high schools in it, that kind of tells you this place is pretty big. It is very spread out, one of the larger towns in Morris County. And so walking from one side to the other, not easy in Parsippany. So I'm gonna say no on the walkability with Parsippany. Moving along here, with all this being said, you got a walkability town. That means a little smaller town, a Morristown. What am I saying about a smaller town? More demand, possibly. I'm gonna say higher cost of living here. Morristown's gonna be a little bit more expensive. There's just not as much properties, not as much things like that going on, where Parsippany's got a little bit more room to expand, put some new developments in, more homes. There tends to be a lot more properties on the market any given time in the Parsippany area. And I'm not gonna give you a stat on that right now because you might be watching in 2025 or maybe it's 2030, but what I will say, whatever the year is, so you can get accurate, up-to-date information on both of these towns, reach out, have a conversation, shoot me a text. Very easy to get to me at this number, but actually it's probably gonna pop up on the screen as well. But if not, I'm gonna put it right here. You can shoot me a text any single time and I will get back to you very, very easily. So that will be able to give you that accurate information so you know exactly what to expect. I'm moving along here. I'm gonna be getting into how transportation and everything works in both these towns. So stick around on that one because believe it or not, one has a much easier way of getting in, but I don't know, actually. I think the other does as well. So I'm gonna be throwing them both out there, and like I said, you're gonna make that decision on which one is best. So stick around for that in terms of transportation. Diverse housing. One of these towns is gonna have a little bit of everything from the single family to the condos to the spread out homes. I think you know which one I'm talking about. I'm gonna say a pro on this is gonna be going to Parsippany, diverse housing. Parsippany has diverse housing. You can get a little bit of everything there. You're gonna get, once again, the lake communities. You're gonna get the homes in between. You're gonna have large mansions. Then you can go to condos, townhomes. It's got it all. Wow. Morristown, it's just a smaller area, so you might be able to find a different style home here and there, but you're gonna have a much better shot of getting different top property types in the Parsippany area compared to Morristown. All right, as I was saying before, one of these guys has a train, the other one doesn't. Transportation wise, getting into NYC is a little bit easier. That's gonna go to the Morristown direct train. So that's so crucial because, if you want to go to NYC, you have the ability to. Personally, I'll take the train, a couple times every year at least to go in, maybe go to MSG, go see a show, go watch a game, have a good time. So having that direct train is very awesome because you get in so easily and you don't have to worry too much about it. Just hop on the train. Maybe you go to the walkability of Morristown, have a couple drinks, go hop on that train, go see the game, and it's a good time. You can't beat that. You're not going to be getting that so much in the Parsippany area. But with that being said, Parsippany does offer something else that can be a little bit more beneficial. And this is where you need to make that decision. They have bus lines, which is really convenient, especially at some of the junctions, Route 46. So they're coming on, you can get a bus there on commuter hours almost every 10-15 minutes. So you literally, if you're running late, you get the next bus, not a big deal. You hop on a couple stops, you get into the city, the Port Authority, very quick on the bus. So a lot of times the bus becomes a little bit more desirable. I've got friends in my town that take the train. I got friends in town that take the bus. There's kind of like a little debate there, which is better. I'll let you make that decision, but both areas, have access to NYC, which is awesome. You can't complain about that. So talking a little bit more about what Morristown has here, being it's a smaller town, it's older, things are a little more compact. It can be tough for parking at times, especially when we have some of these big events like I'm going to be talking about in a little bit. So stay tuned so you can learn a little bit more about that event. But parking can be tough in Morristown. I will say if you park in a garage, you tend to find places. If you want to park directly on the green or the square through Morristown, that can be tough. Street parking can be very tough. You're gonna have to pay for it regardless of where you're parking. So keep that in mind. But typically you can get into a garage, but heck, there's been nights when we've done lots of loops trying to get to go have a good time. So I will say be aware of the parking issues that you might run into with Morristown. All right, moving along here. This is something now, like I want to put this on the list because at the end of the day, it is a little difference maker here. But look, this is not my opinion. This is from niche.com. One of these two towns has higher rated schools according to niche.com, but in all fairness, not by much. So both towns have high rated schools, but Parsippany beats Morristown a little bit. What I suggest is go on the niche.com, do some research yourself so you know a little bit more about the schools. They're both top 10 in Morris County, so you can't really complain there. That's awesome, and Morris County is very high with the schools. So, at the end of the day, both have great schools, but Parsippany's winning on that one. So do your own research though on that, because for whatever reason, they don't let me. NARD says, heck, yeah, I'm a realtor. I can't advise you which direction to go with schools. Moving along here, limited nightlife is gonna go to Parsippany. It's tough to go out past 10 o'clock in Parsippany unless you're going to like Applebee's or something like that. But the most of the time the place is closed around 10 or 11, even on a weekend. Not many places stay open late, so if you want to go have that late night drink or go out with the friends, you're probably going to want to check out Morristown for sure, over Parsippany, but there's really not much happening in that capacity there. So I'm going to have to say that the nightlife definitely goes to Morristown for sure. Let's go historic charm. Now, where we got one place that George Washington actually stayed in for the winter, and we got another one that, you know, he didn't go to. To be nice. All right. At the end of the day, historic charm is going to go to Morristown. I love, there's always a reference of 1776 and all that kind of stuff, and when George Washington was there, you know, getting chased by the British through New Jersey. So I won't do a whole history lesson here. If you like history, drop a comment below. I'm a little history guy. I like history and I like going into some of these places, but this is all about learning about the towns, not doing a history lesson. But if you're into history, drop a comment below. One way or another, Morristown has got the history side of things, and GW was there, so you see a lot of those references from the bar names to the historical societies. A lot happened in Morristown, so there's a little more historic charm. And then you see some of the properties, you know, those old school colonial homes around town where some of these are a couple hundred years old, kid you not. So you see a lot of that, and then you have the, you know, historical touch to these properties, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to see a little more history in the Morristown area. Once again, when you got older places, older towns, I'm going to say smaller lot sizes, small lots. So you're not getting a huge property in Morristown for sure. You're going to be definitely a smaller lot there, where you know, if you want Parsippany, we're spread out. There are a lot more going in terms of geography, so you're going to get a larger lot there most of the time, but it's always obviously going to vary property to property, but most likely chances are you're going to get smaller property in the Morristown area. All right. Highways here. Let's keep going on this. When you're looking at highways, I'm going to say both of them have it, but one of them has a really major junction that intersects, which makes things a little bit easier if you're driving your car, depending on where you need to go. If you need to take 287, you can get 287 very easily, both Parsippany and both Morristown, but Parsippany has 287 and Route 80. So if you need to go Route 80 maybe into the city, or maybe you need to take Route 80 to the Poconos, it's right there in Parsippany. I kid you not, you can go to one of the highest metropolitans in the world, New York City, to one of the most desolate kind of, there's not many people, beautiful, absolutely beautiful Poconos, right the other direction. So, you know, 40 minutes to New York City, 40 minutes to the Poconos, and that is right where the 287 Route 80 junction is in Parsippany. So getting access to these locations becomes very easy. And then obviously if you need to go anything on the loop of 287, very convenient. But like I said, also 287 is at Morristown, so I'm gonna give that a pro. I was gonna say just 287. And then you're, you know, 10 minutes away from Route 80 from the Morristown area. So you're not too far, but Parsippany has it right there. So that being said, that's also really good because it has a lot of commercial businesses and things in the area, a little more built up in that style in the Parsippany market, because transportation for things like freight and all that is a little bit easier in Parsippany. So you'll see a little bit more. With that being said, you know, because there's a major hub there, we're also going to get a lot more congestion with traffic. Parsippany is a merge of two highways. You got Route 80, 280. When they merge during rush hour, it gets slow. So just be aware of that you're going to get a little bit more traffic in that one. Whereas Morristown, you know, you'll get, you know, maybe that 5 p.m. traffic, but the highway doesn't back up as much as you're going to see in that Parsippany area. Really quick, so I can better assist you, why don't you drop a comment below of where you need to be. Maybe you want to work in New York City, or maybe you're working in New York City and the spouse is working somewhere else, or maybe you're both working in two separate towns. This is where it's so crucial for me to reach out and have that conversation with you so I can identify the towns that make most sense. Because at the end of the day, if maybe you're working in Western New Jersey, it might be easier to move a little bit further west, whereas maybe if you're working in the city, you might want to be a little bit closer, so you can stay up to date on all these things. Make sure you click subscribe, hit the bell. Very, very crucial to hit the bell, because they're going to stay up to date on future videos that come out every single week, and I dive deep on these towns that have things like the direct line train, that easy access to the city, and then maybe the towns that have a little bit more country style living. So if you want to know all about that, you got to click subscribe. It's so crucial with all this. And like I said, drop a comment below as well. All right, another con here is no direct train, no train. So, you know, that's a little, obviously they've got the train here in Morristown, but because there's no train, you really do have to just take the highway. You know, neighboring towns have trains and everything like that if you needed to, but there's no train there. So that's, yeah, I'm gonna say that's a negative, because why, you know, you wanna have a train, why not? Why would you wanna have a train? Even if you don't have to take it, so it's good. All right, I'm gonna be getting up to that really fun thing very soon, that the big, huge event that's happening in one of these towns. I'm almost there, so make sure you stay tuned on that coming along here. But I'm gonna say a little bit of a curveball here is maybe you're thinking of investing in real estate, or maybe you wanna do something like house hacking, where you live in one unit, rent out the other, you get a little bit more duplexes and multifamilies. Which town's gonna have more multifamilies? It's gonna be Morristown, it's gonna be Parsippany. Well, I'm gonna say REI, real estate investing, is going to be a little bit more predominant in the Morristown area, a little higher rental market. You see a lot more places for rent because it's got that proximity to the downtown. So, you know, you're going to see this as a strong rental market. So maybe you want to buy a duplex, live in one unit, rent out the other. Maybe you just want to buy a duplex as an investment. Morristown is going to be a little bit more favorable for that. So I'm going to say the pro. Now look, if you want to learn a little bit more about house hacking and real estate investing, I actually have a specific channel dedicated to that, different from this one. This is all about living in New Jersey suburbs, but I've invested for many years myself, so I always love sharing that information to make it smooth for you, but I can share that in the description below my other channel. All right, moving along here. You know, look, this is parties, there's things happening. That's great, that's wonderful, but it's gonna be a little bit more noisy in Morristown. All right, so just keep that in mind. You're gonna get a little more noise happen, a late night, you know, 1 a.m. Party's still going on. So just be aware of that, it's just a little louder in town. Maybe you get some little more ruckus with some people drinking a little bit, walking down the street. So might run into that. Not crazy though, so don't want to scare you. All right, keeping this going, we're gonna do the corporate presence. So you're gonna do a little more corporate presence in Parsippany. You see a lot, there's pharmaceutical, there's everything where they have major hubs. You see commercial, you going on the highway, you see major buildings. There's just a little bit more going on in that sense, because it's a lot of that just has to do with the 287 Route 80 junction there. So I think you're gonna see a larger corporate presence in Parsippany itself. Morristown has it, but it's gonna be more of surrounding towns, just because Morristown is so small and compact. So corporations get a little more in Parsippany. Okay, moving along here, I'm gonna say that we have in Morristown, you're gonna get a lot more competition with buying a home, okay? So you just wanna keep that in mind, that, you know, it's a smaller area, prices are gonna go up, there's gonna be a lot more bidding going on, and that you're gonna see that a little bit more in the Morristown market. So just keep that in mind. So you're gonna see more competitive with housing that is in the Morristown market. And now look, here's the big thing that I wanted to talk about, and really cool, is there's gonna be lots of events that are happening, one of which is a massive festival, the St. Patrick's Day Parade Festival. Now there's lots of parades and everything happening in Morristown, but the St. Patrick's Day Parade is a huge one, and that's happening in Morristown. So I'm gonna say events, you're gonna see some pretty big ones. I mean, I kid you not, you know, thousands of people will show up to the Morristown Parade. It's a really fun time. You go bar hopping, you do all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. So if you're into that, Morristown's good. But once again, this is a pros and cons video. Maybe you don't want that. I think it's cool. It's fun, but if you don't want to be around that, well, then that might be a con for you. And that's why I like to share as much information as possible so you can make that decision. And that's why it's always so crucial to click subscribe so you can stay up to date on everything that's happening in northern New Jersey. I come out with videos every single week. So you always want to click subscribe, hit the bell, because that's going to get you knowing more and more so you can make an educated decision on where you want to move in New Jersey suburbs. But when you look at the events and everything that's happening here, they have the PACA, which is Performing Arts Center, so you can get comedians come in. They'll have live shows. That's happening all the time, and almost every weekend there's an event there. And then like I said, the St. Patrick's Day Parade is just a huge one. You literally just go walk around the green, you go bar to bar, they shut the streets down or they limit the access. So really good all around awesome time for some of these events in Morristown. I think that a lot of that has to do with the walkability. Obviously you have the train to get in there, the historical factor, really great. But look, this is more little partying, I'll say, a little partying hard. Maybe you have kids and you might want more affordability, diverse housing. Maybe you want to go, you have maybe one child, so maybe you get a small starter home, and then you're like, okay, I know we're gonna have more kids in a couple years, so maybe you want to go up to the next home. Probably have a little bit easier time in the Parsippany area because of the diverse housing. So, everything's there, and then you still have the bus, you still got the school, so it's gonna be your decision. There might easily be able to swap some of these cons and pros. Maybe you don't want, maybe you think, no, you don't want a walkable town, so it's not that big of a con to you. So whatever it is, and if you don't like nightlife, you got the kids, that's probably a pro. So I always like to share as much information with you so you can make that decision, make that move smooth. Make sure you check this out right here. Is it here or is it here? But click the next video because it's gonna be super crucial for you making that move to New Jersey suburbs.